As we continue now to get some reaction as former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution of advocate Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan has been postponed to the 2nd of February 2023. The former president launched a private prosecution against the pair for what he claims is the illegal publishing of his confidential medical records. But today's proceedings have an added layer, as Maughan's lawyers are bringing an urgent court application to have the summons brought against her be declared an abuse of court processes. Now, in staying with the story, we cross now live to our reporter Karyn Maughan, who's monitoring events outside the court. And, of course, Karyn, we will also be bringing you some reaction with our reporter ZiyandaNgcobo, starting with Ziyanda. Ziyanda, very good afternoon to you. Some big changes happening as this matter gets underway.
Absolutely, and Paul, so that urgent court application brought by Karyn Maughan will now be heard on the 8th and the 9th of December, and that's when the civil aspect of this case will be heard. With regards to Billy Downer's application for a security deposit of 1 million rand, the teams have settled then on 500,000 rand. But Paul, we know that on the 2nd of February then is when Maughan and Billy Downer will be returning to this court to be able to start then that private prosecution. And somebody who I'm expecting to be as the chairman of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Siboniso Duma. Firstly, you released a statement yesterday, Mr. Duma, saying that you will be here to support the former president. In the tenure of your predecessors, they had to make a plea with the NEC to be able to come and show solidarity with the former president. What is the stance of this new provincial executive committee?
Thank you so much. I'm sure you are aware that it was a resolution of the conference that this PEC must ensure at all material time must support Comrade President Zuma. So it is critical that is one of our own, is a stalwart of the ANC at all times when he appears in court. It is a resolution that it must be supported, and I think it's the right thing to do. Although today is a historic day because he's the one who was advancing on private prosecution in ensuring that the Downers of this world, the Maughans of this world are also sitting on the dock. I think it is critical for us that because we've been seeing the judiciary has not transformed, but steadily we are seeing that they must also partake in this journey, which is painful. Msholos has been facing this process since 2004-2005.
How do you explain, Mr. Duma, the ANC, an organization that's been a champion of media freedom, publicly and organizing against a journalist? You, as the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, have said that you've organized people here today. How do you feel about organizing against a journalism, and yet you claim to be champions of media freedom? You've clearly taken a stance. This can be interpreted as you actually descending into a space of populism and a space where you are no longer actually balancing what is happening outside in court and within the political arena.
I'm sure we must just distinguish and understand the issue of ideological superstructure. Media freedom is something that is protected. It is even enshrined in the Constitution. But we must be clinical also on the understanding of media overreach. In some instances, we've seen journalists encroaching on people's rights, on human rights, so it must be dealt with correctly, and Maughan is one of those. So I think we are at that stage that the media freedom still exists, it must be protected, and as a province of KwaZulu-Natal, we are also the champion. We still maintain that, but the issue I've already mentioned that let us differentiate. Those who do the overreach must be dealt with. It's the same system in the judiciary. The judicial overreach is not correct. It must be dealt with. It must be lambasted.
But I'm sure you can appreciate that you're not a judge. This matter still needs to be determined. How can you say it's media overreach, and what does that even mean? I'm
saying that there is a means of understanding media freedom. We are the champion. We are protecting that. We are saying that as long as the moral ethos, the ethos of the media is correct, they must be protected. But if you do the overreach, like for instance, encroaching on the rights and doings, because at this point in time, the issue of biasness is something that should be dealt with, and is amongst those things. And something, if you seem to be also closer to those who are fighting against the system. So we are there. That's what we are clarifying at this point in time, that we are not going to defend the journalists who are seen as perpetuating something against the human rights as well.
Why not approach the press ombud or the other channels? Why explore, because you seem to be supporting the former president, so why the last, the most extreme punitive action of private prosecution?
Manzob, I'm sure you realize that when I talk about ideological superstructure, this thing is broad. Media is part of superstructure that has been used to defeat the ends of justice in some instances or to oppress. It's the same with judiciary. You will find that at a face value, it's something that is fair, but it's not fair. So it's the same with the issue of media. It's the same with the issue of economy. You must think that it is here to invest, but it is there to oppress. So that is why that we must just differentiate correctly. If the prosecutor is being biased and unfair, let us deal with that process. If the media personnel is not doing what is correct, let us also deal with that. Ombudsmen, in some instances, they might take some time. That is why that the civil man is not going to assist the process. She must be charged criminally so that they just understand the process and going forward.
How would you respond to critics who say, well, the former president looks healthy, he was released on medical parole, and in order to be released on medical parole, you need to either be terminally ill or physically incapacitated. And he's also raised his hand to become national chair, a move that you as the KZN PEC have not supported. What should South Africans make of this in relation to the former president that you have firmly thrown your weight behind? A legitimacy issue there, isn't there?
I'm sure you are clear as well that we are not confused. We are not being controlled by anyone in the process. Our biasness goes towards branches. We are indebted towards branches. No leader is going to detect how we must go. As long as the majority of our branches have given a direction, we are going to do that. So let us just understand that first, that us supporting the former President Zuma does not automatically mean that we support that he must stand for any position. So we must be clear on that one. So that is why I'm saying that there is no leader of the ANC that can say that we are in their pocket, but we are led by process of ensuring that the branches majority rules. On the issue of what we are currently saying, that we are clinical. What is not correct in the spectrum of law must be subjected to scrutiny. It is what we are supporting today, that the issue of Downers. In fact, I thought today we were going to start by saying that they were not even thinking that they would sit in the dock. Yes, there was in the dock. It's a history that has been made. The issue of private prosecution has been done by AfriForum against our people. Today it's happening against them, and it's something that is going to even assist the case law, the case studies of South African spectrum. So it is going to assist even the student going forward. So this case is a critical case. It's a phenomenal case that must be followed so that at the end of the day it will show where the justice system will always prevail.
Will you stand by these words if the court finds in favor of Karyn Maughan and Billy Downer? Don't you think you've just put yourself in a precarious position?
We are not judges. I think you've already mentioned that we support the principle. We are not saying that we are going to adhere to the rules of law. We are going to ensure that we subscribe to what is going to transpire from the judges, but as long as the process favors what must be done, we are going to support that. So we are standing for that position.
All right, that's Siboniso Duma. He is the chairman of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. You will make of it what you will insofar as the ANC supporting this private prosecution against a journalist. At least we can all agree that this is unprecedented. And I'm just going to ask my colleague to show you former President Jacob Zuma exiting the Pietermaritzburg High Court. It would seem that he is going to address his supporters, because he is using a different exit, and that's exactly where you are going to find my colleague Karyn Maughan, who's been monitoring then the support for the former president since this morning. So we'll try and keep with the entourage of the former president. Until then, we're able to link up with my colleague Karyn Maughan, who's set up at the stage where the former president is expected to give an address. He is flanked by the leadership of KwaZulu-Natal, including then the chairman of KwaZulu-Natal, who we just spoke to, saying that they will continue to support the former president. There's also Nomagugu Smelane. She's the deputy chair of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, also spotted the treasurer, Ntutugo Mahlaba. So my colleague Murena is going to try get to the front of that entourage. You can see those who are cheering for former President Jacob Zuma. There are several placards that have been set up, and you know, it's a scene that we've seen previously where the former president you know, has supporters, but this time it's significantly different because he has just now officially been released by the Correctional Services facility, so he's no longer a prisoner of the Escort Correctional Facility. He's no longer on parole, and so here are the scores of people who have come then to show their support. They're carrying placards, Set Zuma Free, and he's also been surrounded then by members of Umkhonto Wesizwe, and they're trying to also get a handle of his security. You also see, you know, other leaders, including, you know, former Finance Minister Des Van Rooyen as well, and there we go. There's former President Jacob Zuma, expected then to address those who've come out to show support for him. It will be interesting to hear what he has to say since being released, and of course lots of questions around his health. You would have heard I asked Siboniso Duma. Terminally ill, physically incapacitated, is the illness that the former president faced no longer a factor here? And you can hear the chants Zuma, Zuma Mpo.